Hey, welcome to episode 1 of the How to Feel Better Complete Audio Guide. Over the next 5 episodes, I'm going to walk you through the exact framework that helped hundreds of my clients stop letting their minds run the show and start creating the results they actually wanted. So if you're listening to this, you've probably already gone through my quick start guide, which means you know this isn't about positive thinking or pretending everything's fine. This is about understanding how your brain actually works and taking back control. In this first episode, we're going to establish the foundation of everything. By the time we're done, you'll understand why you've been chasing happiness in all the wrong places, and you're going to meet the character who's been running your life, probably without your permission. So let's dive in. Hi, I'm Liz. I'm a coach, creator, and the founder of the BFF Club. And here's what I know for sure. You don't get what you want because of what you know. You don't get it because you read the book, signed up for the program, or listened to the podcast. You get it because of what you do. The transformation is always in the work. The work is showing up when you'd rather hide. The work is sitting in the discomfort, the unease, the bad feelings that Larry wants you to escape. The work is being willing to feel like it's not working and do it anyway. Your past doesn't dictate your future, but if you don't shift how you think, plan, and act, tomorrow will look exactly like yesterday. Because knowledge is not power, execution is power. And the transformation, it's always in the work, real change, real results. This isn't theory for me, it's lived experience. I've used this exact method to transform my own relationship with anxiety, self-doubt, and the voice inside my head that used to run the show. I've guided hundreds of clients through the same process, watching them go from stuck and overwhelmed to confident and in control. The Think, Plan, Prosper framework, it's not something I learned in a book. It's something I developed through years of my own messy, imperfect work and refined by seeing what actually moves the needle for real people dealing with real challenges. That's what this guide is here to help you with. Catching Larry in action, shifting your thinking, and practicing the kind of follow through that changes everything. If you want to take this deeper with personal support, accountability, and coaching that meets you where you're at, book a free call with me. Let's figure out what your next big step really is. What you really want. When I ask people what they really want in their life, they usually break it down to one thing. I just want to be happy. When you dig deeper and ask them, well, what does that actually mean? They'll say, I just want to feel good all the time. Most of us would agree that's something we all want. We love the idea of being happy, right? But here's where we get it wrong. We talk about happiness like it's something that happens to us. It just wasn't a good day. I just don't have a happy life. Things just haven't gone my way. We treat emotions like they're created by something outside of us. So we chase all the external things, the perfect body, the right relationship, more money, the ideal business. We are convinced that happiness comes from getting the right stuff. And this is what social media tells us and all things advertising. So it's completely understandable that this is what we're conditioned to think. But think about it. The only reason we ever want anything is because of how we believe we'll feel when we get it. I wanted to be thin because I believed it would make me happy. You want more money because you believe it will make you feel more secure. You want the perfect relationship because you believe it will make you feel loved. But here's what changed my life forever. You're not trying to get thin to be happy. You're not trying to make money to be happy. You're trying to feel a certain way. You think that by achieving those things, you will feel differently. Here's the breakthrough. All our emotions, including happiness, are created in our mind, not by our circumstances, not by other people, not by our bank account, or even our bodies, or even our business results. Your thinking creates your feelings. When I finally understood this, I felt like I'd won the life's lottery. I realized what I really wanted wasn't all those external things after all. What I wanted was to feel a certain way, and I could create any emotion I wanted to by deliberately choosing what I thought. But here's the problem. We are surrounded by messages that tell us otherwise. Every advertisement, every social media post, every success story we hear tells us that happiness comes from having something we don't currently have. And many of us have bought into this completely. I know I did for many years. I used to ask myself, would I rather be thin or happy? That question, it stopped me in my tracks because I really wanted to be thin. But then I wondered, if I was happy, would I actually care so much about being thin? Were those two things really different? Or did I just believe that by being thin, I would be happy? And here's what I discovered. I have many clients who have everything they ever thought they wanted. They're thin, they're successful, they're in really good relationships, but they're still miserable. And I've had times in my life where I had the perfect body, but I was still absolutely miserable. So, if external things really created happiness, that wouldn't be possible. So, what does create the feelings we want? Let's get clear on this because it changes everything. The breakthrough. You're not trying to get thin to be happy. You're trying to feel a certain way. You think that by achieving those things, you'll feel differently. The foundation of everything. Here's the truth that changes everything. You can't outperform the way you think. I'm going to say that again. You can't outperform the way you think. This isn't just some motivational quote. This is the domino that, when it falls, it topples every excuse, every limitation, and every single story you've been telling yourself about why you can't feel better. Every result in your life, your relationships, your bank account, your energy level, how you feel when you wake up in the morning, it all starts with a thought. That thought became a belief. That belief drove your actions, and those actions created your results. You can't outperform the way you think. But when you upgrade your thinking, everything else will upgrade automatically. The secret to feeling better isn't out there somewhere. It's right in between your ears. But here's the challenge. It's very difficult to be happy when your mind is filled with negative clutter. Most of us are walking around with minds full of thoughts that we use that create stress, worry, frustration, and overwhelm. And then we wonder why we don't feel good. Now, when I teach this concept that your thoughts create your feelings, people always come back to me with scenarios where they don't think it applies. They'll say, well, what about when somebody dies? That grief isn't caused by a thought, it's caused by the death. But here's what I want you to understand. The feeling doesn't come from the person dying. The feeling comes from the thought you have about the person dying. That's why death doesn't have the same effect on every single person on the planet. Each person's thoughts about death are very different. If someone's death caused grief, it would cause all of us the same amount of grief, which it doesn't. We don't feel any grief until we think about the person dying. If we don't know the person has passed, We don't even feel any grief about it because the thought hasn't hit our brain yet. This isn't me being cold or unfeeling. It's simply about understanding how emotions actually work. How you feel, how you decide to think about it will determine how you feel about it. And here's something else that's crucial to understand. Life is balanced, right? Yin and the yang. Life is 50-50. We are supposed to feel negative emotions half the time. That's not a bug in the system. It's actually a feature. We're not trying to feel positive all the time. We're trying to understand what we get when we choose our thoughts, which means we get to choose our feelings, including when it's appropriate to feel negative emotions. When someone dies, we want to feel that grief. That's love with nowhere to go. When we lose something important, we feel sadness. These emotions are part of the human experience. The difference is knowing that you're choosing those thoughts and feelings rather than believing they're happening to you. And that's the skill we're going to develop together. You're going to learn how to choose your thoughts consciously instead of letting them run on autopilot. You're going to understand how to feel any emotion without being afraid of it. You're going to master the art of thinking in a way that serves you. But first, we need to get clear on what's actually happening in your mind right now. Meet Larry the lizard. Before we go any further, I want to introduce you to someone who's been running your life without your permission. Larry the lizard. Now, Larry is what I call the unconscious part of your brain, the part that's been thinking the same thoughts for so long they feel completely normal and automatic. Larry thinks he's protecting you, but mostly he's just keeping you stuck. I call him Larry because he's external to me. When I make those unconscious thoughts internal and personal, I beat myself up even more. But when I can laugh and say, oh, Larry, that's silly thinking, or I'm going down Larry rabbit hole again, I can just get curious instead of critical. Because do you know Larry? Well, Larry, he loves to tell us things like, you can't do that. Well, people think. This always happens to you. I'm just not good enough. This is just how you are. No, don't do that. Let's go watch YouTube instead of doing that. It's raining right now. We can't possibly go out for a run. The problem is Larry's thoughts. Well, he's practiced those thoughts so many times, they actually feel like truth. They feel like you. But I want to assure you, they're not you. They're just patterns you've practiced. When we slow things down and become truly aware of Larry's chatter, we get to decide whether to keep listening to him or choose different thoughts. I tell you, this changed everything. So I hope that you're still with me here. Right. So in the workbook, we get to the first step, which I call the awareness exercise. So it's here that we start to figure out exactly what you're thinking because we cannot change what we don't know, right? So I want to be clear, there are absolutely no giant leaps here. What we're looking for is small, consistent steps that over time, with massive action, will lead to big changes. But you've got to be willing to slow down and actually do the work. If you don't, you're going to keep repeating the patterns you've currently got running, and that's what's creating the way you feel right now. So let's start right here with awareness. Most people have absolutely no idea what they're feeling on a regular basis, let alone what thoughts are creating those feelings. So we're going to start with the daily exercise. And look, I'm just going to segue out here. For me, this daily exercise is what changed everything. A little bit of a trigger warning. When I say I transformed my life completely, I really mean it. I was a very negatively wired, quite depressed, quite well, a trigger warning, suicidal person who didn't seem to matter what was going on in my life. I just found a way to make it horrible. And I remember meeting my partner, who you're going to hear about as we go through this workbook, who used to say to me, "Why do you make your life so hard?" And I had zero idea what he was talking about at the time. Well, 5 years later, when I learned what I'm teaching you now, or started on that pathway, I understood it. And it starts with this exercise. So please take the time to do the work if you truly want to change how you feel. So on a daily basis, what we're going to start to take notice of and become aware of is our three most common feelings. When we get those, we then want to work backwards and we want to go, well, what are the thoughts that I'm using that would create these feelings? And this to me is where you get to see Larry. Now, Larry, if he's like my Larry, he's a sneaky little lizard. He loves to just tell me all of the negative stuff that as a little kid I believed, right? So I'm not good enough. Nobody likes me. Nobody has anything nice to say about me. I mean, the list was negatively endless. So that's why it's important to catch these thoughts. And how I've done it is in the workbook, you'll see how I'm going feeling number one. Larry's thoughts creating this feeling. So I, for example, feeling number one, I'm never good at anything. I always fail at it. That was an actual thought that I had. Didn't matter. I was a seven-figure consultant earning shit tons of money with people always headhunting me and asking me to do impossible things. That didn't seem to matter. I still carried that belief. So what was Larry's thoughts creating this feeling? Quite quite obvious, right? Because I just said it, that I wasn't worth anything. So I was always depressed. So that's what I want you to do. And it's just three feelings a day. And then I want you to capture the thought. The thought will be a Larry thought. It's not you. You're not trapped. We can change this. And so then we move into where we want to be. So, what we want to be able to do is we want to change how we feel. So, we no longer want to be running on a lower energy frequency. We want to heighten that, right? So, instead of what are the worst three, what are your top three feelings that you would love to have every single day? You know, I really wanted to be joyful and happy and feel prosperous. Those were important to me. So then the question is, what thoughts would you need to think to create these feelings? Because this is where we start to train our brains. So in the workbook, it says desired feeling number one, and then new thoughts to create this feeling. And you do that 3 times. Now, honestly, most people just want to skip all of this, right? And they just want to get to the how-to steps. But like I will remind you throughout, you cannot outperform the way you think, ever. And if you don't know what you're currently thinking, which I often say, yeah, thanks, Larry. If you don't know what you're thinking, you can't change it. And that is why we need to do the work. And when we do the work, we get the results always. So I really hope that you take the time to do it. And that, my loves, is the end of episode 1. I hope to see you back in episode 2. And please go and do the work. It is worth it. I promise you, this is transformational.